Here's a professionally made but unnecessary intro. So let's talk about figs. Let's talk about figs.
Well, this is a little bit of a different video, and this is where you're going to see me step outside my comfort zone. Because what I'm going to show you today is my first attempt at a Korean natural farming technique, which is to create fish amino acids. Now, this is not the stinky Alaskan fish fertilizer that smells horrible. This is a way of creating extremely concentrated and extremely affordable fertilizer, and fish amino acids is part of it. I'm a novice. I get most of my information just by watching some YouTube videos and talking to my friend Jason in Florida, who turned me on to this. Um, there's other aspects of it, like indigenous microorganisms and like a oriental herbal, like a vinegary type product. You can use all kinds of different products to make this work, and it's a multi-step way of really focusing on the indigenous soil health that helps your plants thrive. So I didn't know anything about this, and then in January I went to Florida to present at a conference and visited my family and met up with this guy Jason that I found on one of the Florida groups, to buy a couple of fig trees for my dad after Hurricane Helene destroyed some of his. And he sent me home with this vial, this glass jar of brown liquid, and he's like, try it. And so I did. And I mean, I am not joking. Within 4 or 5 days, it's like the trees all did this incredible Hulk like explosion of green growth. And so I took that information, and it takes 5 or 6 months to make this stuff, which is why I'm starting it now on the end of September, um, so that by springtime I'll have the product that I need. But I was able to purchase some that was commercially made, and it's through a company called BioMay, which is made by one of the gurus in the field, Chris Trump. And so I'm going to try to make my own. And this year, I really, when people come over to my property, they're like, oh my God, your trees look amazing. And I think that it's partly due to this. I alternated so every 2 weeks I would fertilize my potted plants, and it would alternate between the fish amino acids and the oriental herbal mixtures. And then the other 2 weeks I would do Jack's part A, part B, and Epsom salts. And this is after watching MJ Figs do his thing and really amazed at the vigor of his trees. So I'm going to show you kind of what I've learned. And so really, there's like 3 ingredients to this process. The first is raw fish. And I stopped by yesterday at Portland Fish Market, one of the best, fishmongers in the city, and got about 8 pounds of fish. And the second is brown sugar. So what we're going to do, and you basically are just layering this. So I'm going to make a little bit of a base of the brown sugar. And then the third, and this is where some people use leaf mold, some people use indigenous microorganisms. I am using indigenous microorganisms, but they're not indigenous, to my area. Again, I didn't have time to make my own, so I purchased it. And IMO has different like stages or phases that that affect how the product is like, the end result. But this is just like an inoculum of soil and beneficial microbes. And so, if you're familiar with bokashi composting, this is, I think, kind of similar and a similar idea. And so, what we're going to do, and again, you can use whatever you want. The fattier the fish is, salmon, trout, black cod. These are the kind of the choice products, and you just are going to layer this down. Hello. You want to try to get it as flat as possible so it doesn't tent up. And I've snipped some of these open so that they're a little bit more. So you're just going to layer this down. So that's layer number one. And I have an 8-pound bag of brown sugar from Costco. And you want this in about a 1-to-1 ratio. And then you pack it down. And again, some of this, I'm winging it. I'm going to take a little layer of the IMO, sprinkle that in, and then it's time for the next layer. So we're going to do this. And, I'm using a food grade 5-gallon bucket. I invited my 13-year-old to participate, and there was not a lot of interest. Neither from my wife or my 20-year-old. So we're just going to do this on our own. Another salmon head. And, if you build a relationship with your fishmonger, they didn't charge me. They didn't charge me for the scraps. These are just discarded to them. So I just called them the morning of and said, hey, I happen to go to work with a 5-gallon bucket in my car. Can I drop this off and you fill it up? And they said, sure. I forgot to cut that one. This is a nice piece of black cod, which is one of my favorite fish. Just use some nice bone shears and get through that, just so that you're kind of like really just trying to close any of the dead space. You don't want any air. This is not an aerobic process. This is ideally an anaerobic process for you sciencey people out there. So I'm just gonna, and you want to, like I said, you want to compress it down, being mindful that there's sharp bones. And so what's interesting is the product that Jason sent me home with in February was so concentrated that you literally, oh hello B, hi, could you go away? Thank you. That it's used in either a 1-to-500 dilution or 1-to-1000 dilution. This stuff is really, really concentrated. You might be hearing the storm that's a brewing. Ignore that. So we're gonna do the next layer. So, this this was probably a 4-ounce jar he sent me home with. It lasted me for like months. And I have a 20-gallon bucket on wheels that I fill up, and it was like 75 ml per 20-gallon bucket. And I would just go from pot to pot and just give it a nice soak. And it's way faster than the jacks, because the jacks you have to mix it. You have to mix it in precise, concentrations. Now MJ Figs, he's got a cool setup where he has like a sump pump or water circuit, like a pond pump that circulates all of that, and then he connects it to a hose, and so he just can go around his greenhouse and do that. But I'm doing this primarily with outdoor figs that are in pots, and I have a lot of them. So I'm going to grab some more IMO. And then we'll go to our next layer. But it's just so impressive how the plants so quickly reacted to what I had done to them. And never have I had you fertilize stuff, but you don't always see the results. And this was just such a tangible result so quickly. I was just blown away. Let's see here. I'm trying to get one little piece there. So we're coming up on the end of the layer. And then you want to make sure you reserve some brown sugar for the top because you need a sugar cap. And then some people will then top the sugar cap with either IMO or leaf mold or whatever. Some people don't even use the IMO. They're just basically using the bacteria that are just kind of floating around and sitting on the fish as the catalyst. But again, you're really, really trying to pack this down. And then I think this is going to be my last layer of fish. Got some nice tail fin pieces here. Hopefully we won't see a bunch of raccoons sniffing around this area in the middle of the night. Okay, so that's the last little bit. I will be taking a shower after this because I'm covered in fish juice. Okay, so then if this is our last layer, what I'll do is I'll throw a little IMO on top of that. And then the rest is just going to get dumped on here. Okay, so hopefully, actually I have more brown sugar if I need to. Thank you, Costco. Where you go in for one thing and end with way too much. All right. And so, this is maybe a third of the way up. You can do much larger, you can do larger volumes. You want to leave about a third of the volume still available for air. Some people will even buy like venting types of where you can come out and just vent the gas. But, the next step is a lid goes on this, and I'll duct tape it on. And then it's going to go in a heat mat, probably about 75 degrees. And I'll just tuck it in the corner of my greenhouse. And I'll open it up in probably 4, 5, 6 months. And you can take some of the distillate off, earlier. But I think the longer this goes, the more it distills down. And what's just remarkable, I can't impress to you enough, how little it smells. Like it doesn't smell at all in a foul way. And just how concentrated it is. And, this was 1 bag of brown sugar, a little bit of indigenous microorganisms, which you can make on your own with some white rice and a box that you can create to collect bacteria in your environment, and fish scraps that you can get for near nothing. And it just makes you the most potent fertilizer that you can use if you learn the other techniques. Now, if you're into Korean natural farming or Jadam or any, please don't butcher me. This was, I would love constructive criticism. If you've done this, let me know in the comments what you think. But I'll post an update video when I open this cask, in probably March or maybe April of next year, and see what happens. If it explodes and covers the inside of my greenhouse, I will live stream the hosing off of my greenhouse as well. But, science. Get out there, try new stuff, push the boundaries, and you might be rewarded with some really amazing results. Hope you all are having a great day, and get out there and eat more fish. I mean figs.